Hey, hi Sumant. Hey, hello everyone.
Hi, Hashish.
Good, good. Is it my
So how's
voice? I
it going
mean,
there?
yeah, it started raining actually. It was all good a couple of minutes back, and now it's raining. But yeah, it's good actually.
Yeah, great.
Nothing to worry much. Yeah,
So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes. We'll just wait for the speakers to join. Then we can just continue.
yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, definitely we need speakers, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I see some known faces in the listeners. Hey, hello everyone. Hello, Akshay. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
So yeah, we can just start. We just got the two speakers as well, so we can just start, Hafiz.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see Bhavish as
Yeah.
well as a speaker. Yeah, please. Yeah, let's get started, Sumant.
So yeah, hi everyone, welcome to this space. So where you can just learn all about data science and machine learning. So thanks for joining this space, and also thanks for joining as speakers, Akshay and Bhavish. I will hope to learn a lot from you, from your experiences, and even the listeners also would love to hear your thoughts. So thanks for joining. And yeah, first I will just go with my introduction to all the listeners as well as the speakers. So I'm Sumant. I'm just currently working as a machine learning engineer at Omdina, which is an open source organization. And apart from that, I'm just creating content on YouTube as well as Twitter and being active on other socials regarding this the same like the machine learning. And yeah, that's my introduction. So yeah, Hafiz, you can just go ahead and you can just introduce yourself, and then we can just go ahead with the speakers as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sumant. Yeah, myself is Afiz, and I have been working as a Python backend developer for more than 8 years now. And yeah, I do have some experience in data science and machine learning. And yeah, I'm looking forward to listen to all the speakers and to learn something new about data science and machine learning through this space. Yeah, thanks again, guys.
Great, Hafiz. Thanks for that intro. And yeah, Akshay, thanks for joining the space. Can you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Sumant and Afis, for inviting me over. So hey everyone, this is Akshay, and I work as a data scientist at TomTom. So if we talk about my journey, I started my career back in 2016 as a computer vision intern at HERE Technologies, and so far I have been primarily working with computer vision and classical machine learning. And if I briefly talk about the problem that I'm currently trying to solve, it involves extracting and localizing places information from street level imagery. And to do so, we have access to camera feeds and LiDAR data. So that's about me. And again, it's a pleasure to be here and being able to speak with the panel that we have today. Yeah, so over and yeah, back to you, Suman. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that awesome intro, Akshay. And really looking forward to listen to your thoughts as well. And yeah, hi Bhavish. Thanks for joining the space. And I guess there is no introduction needed for Bhavish. I've just seen a lot of spaces as well. So yeah, Bhavish, you can just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey Suman, thanks for having me, man. That's so kind of you. It's not that I don't need an introduction. We all need an introduction. Uh, it would be my first interaction with Hafiz and Akshay as well. So it's great to be in this space. So my name is Bhavisha Pandit. I'm a data scientist at Rakuten India. Apart from that, I like here on Twitter and using my social media platform, I create content that I make sure is adding value. I here on Twitter, I share opportunities, I share free resources on data science, few of my learnings or the fun projects that I do probably on weekends. So this is what I do usually on uh, on weekends on Twitter. And apart from that, I've helped over 2,000 people in getting started with data science and tech in general. And yep, I mean there are other things as well, but I'll put on mute for now. Yeah, thanks a lot, Suman. Back at you.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavish, for that awesome introduction. And yeah, all the listeners, you don't like if you don't know Akshay and Bhavish, they're just creating amazing content. They're just so helpful. If you just want to start your career with data science or machine learning, any guidance, any kind of information, you can just follow them. And as well as Hafiz, where he used to create some awesome content on Python and machine learning as well. So yeah, do follow and do check the speakers as well. And yeah, it's good to have all of them. And yeah, we can just start with a little bit introduction about their coming into this tech industry. So how you just so I just the first question is like I just want to ask, so how you just get into this data science or machine learning field. And before that, I just want to no, I just want to know your journey into tech. So how you just transition into data science from that tech. So I just want to know that from your speakers as well. So yeah, you can just go ahead. Akshay, can you just take that?
Sure, sure. Yeah. Uh, so basically, I was not like, I did not start coding at very early stage in my college or like that, right? So I think it was, so I was doing this 5 year course, which was an integrated degree from BITS Pilani in EEE, which is electronics engineering. And it was integrated with a master's in mathematics. So it was around my fourth year wherein I started taking some interest in coding. And uh, during my final year, which was in 2016, I started with an internship at Here Technologies. So basically, they're a consortium owned by BMW and Daimler. And during my internship itself, I was fortunate to get great mentorship, and I was working on a project where we were providing some some natural guidance was the name of the project, and we were working for BMW. So in 2016, like we all know, deep learning and all these things were relatively new. So I had done a course in image processing at my college, and coming from a maths background, so it was you can say, I mean, it was relatively easier for me to grasp into the technologies that were necessary at that time. So yeah, so I would say that I was fortunate to get a very great internship and a great mentorship at that time. That's where my interest. Uh, I mean, I was got primarily interested in data science and programming, and that's how my journey started. And now you can say, like, if I count my internship, it's been 6 years.
That's really awesome, Akshay. That's really awesome. And yeah, and Bhavish, can you just tell your journey, like how you just get into this tech, data science role? So what that whole journey looked like?
Definitely, man. So I remember that when I was in my fourth semester in my college, I mean, there was this one subject of ours in our semester, like which was of Python and all of that. So I started that just for the sake of my semester exams and all of that. But I found it really intriguing for the fact that the book that I was actually referring at that time, it more or less had mentioned various use cases of Python. And I was intrigued that okay, this one language is being used out in so many things, especially artificial intelligence is that thing where it is being mentioned everywhere. Artificial intelligence, data science, and all of that, data analytics. It is mentioned there very aggressively. So I was like, what is this thing, right? Because it's like it's easy to understand, it's easy to learn, it's easy to implement. People are it is actually having such a huge community, and a lot of people are talking about data science. So what this data science really is, I was very intrigued and very curious to know about it. So I actually googled stuff. I actually, I was like, okay, this thing seems fun, so let's try to learn. Because anyways, I had to have something up my sleeves for placements and all of that, right? And I mean, up till then, I was having this mentality that I would go for campus placements and all of that. But later, I did not opt for it. That's a different thing. But up till then, I had a mentality that okay, I should have some kind of a specialization, some kind of a mastery, not mastery exactly, but some kind of specialization in a skill which I'd be able to, embody myself too. So data science was that one thing. You know, uh, I opted for a few courses. I started reading blogs. I started making projects and all of that. It got even more fun after that, and that was the time when I had gotten into it, and it has been an amazing journey till now, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's really great, Bhavish. And I just love the fact that the things that you just mentioned, like loving the Python and then starting into learning data science and getting into that role. That's really awesome. And yeah, we'll just have another speaker as well. I just requesting Dan. So Dan, you can just request as a speaker, and you can just come onto the panel, and you can just share your views as well. And yeah, we can just go ahead with the next question. And definitely, data science is one such field which everyone is looking to get in. But I just want to know, like, from the speakers, so why you just choose data science? What interested you the most? Whether it is statistics part, whether it is the maths behind that, whether it's the applications that it's just solving. So I'm just curious to know, like, what interested you the most. So yeah, you can just take that.
So to me, it was the application, to be honest, because I was awestruck to see that okay, so many things can actually be solved using artificial intelligence. There are a lot of use cases. Artificial intelligence, data science actually has been using in we are using in healthcare, in fintech, uh, in road safety, and whatnot. Man, I mean, so that was quite a thing to me, and the fact that the data analysis and all of that, there is such a requirement. So two things that actually fascinated me, basically the first was the application. Second thing was that since there are so many applications, hence the scope of this field. So these are the two things which mainly, because uh, rest everything that you are doing, be it statistics, mathematics, the skills that you have to do, courses, or probably the books you would have to need to read, and all of that is something which is very ancillary, right? You'll have to do it, so only then you'd be able to solve the applications. But the main intention behind all of this was skills. No, I mean the skills that I'll have to learn to solve these applications. So it was like that.
Cool, cool, Baish. And Akshay, what interested you the most when you were just getting into this field? What fascinated you?
So I'm not sure about like why did I get into this field, but yeah, what I like about the field is that it does not get boring, to be honest. Like, so that is one of the main reason for me. Like, so it's a very dynamic field. Every day, I mean, you see some new research or something new coming out. Although it's very hard to catch up with that, but at least you always have something new to learn. And when you have something new to learn, you can. So if you're properly able to solve a problem, then you get to frequently switch from one problem to another. So that is also a great thing. So uh, so the part that I like about data science, or working with machine learning, that you get to work on a lot of problems, a lot of new problems, and your work doesn't get boring. So that's my perspective about it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. And also, I just believe that data science and even the deep learning, we can just see every day a lot of new research is going on, new applications, everything is booming. So yeah, that's also one of the reason. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, actually. And yeah, we just have a new speaker here, Dan. So yeah, welcome Dan to the space, and we are here to listen from you as well. And yeah, can you just introduce yourself, Dan?
Hello. Can you hear me? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Sorry for being late. This is my first time actually speaking at a space, so I had some technical difficulties connecting, but I'm here now. So hello everyone. My name is Dan, short for Daniel. But you could just call me Dan. I am a machine learning engineer. Previously, I worked at Nokia. But then I decided to move on, try different things, and I work at a different company, which is now kind of like an outsourcing company. And right now, my current client or project is at this company called Infineon, which basically they create various computer processing chips for various products. And I am in a very interesting project for optimizing the factory production lines, so the way how they produce those computer chips. And so we use this machine learning model to simulate the production line of creating these various chips. So kind of simulating the various different parameters that should be set for the production line. And then once we kind of optimize the various parameters that need to be set, then we of course apply them, and then the cost savings, the magical cost savings then begin. So I've been playing around with machine learning or working with machine learning for a few years now as well. So a lot of interesting things. I did not hear everything what was heard before or what was said before, but in regards to my prior experience, I had finished electronics and telecommunications from college, which is one subject actually. So I did not finish any kind of data science or mathematical backgrounds. Well, it's more of an engineering background, not a very mathematical. Well, it is a mathematical background, but nothing with machine learning or anything like that. I originally started my career as a test engineer, actually, doing various tests for, well, first for the automotive industry and then moved on to the telecommunications industry. And so I had nothing to do with machine learning before. But then later, of course, as others mentioned, the love of Python, I really fell in love with Python, and that kind of really propelled me in the direction of machine learning. But luckily, I had an amazing manager at Nokia that gave me this opportunity because a few years back, Nokia came out with this initiative that machine learning is the future. We should try doing something with it. And so various teams tried to brainstorm various different ideas of how we could use machine learning in our day-to-day work. And so then I had this amazing manager who gave me this amazing opportunity to actually work on or try to create some kind of machine learning project. And that was for using machine learning for predicting regression tests that we were doing. So trying to predict whether or not the test would pass or fail and trying to explain why exactly that would happen. And so that was absolutely my first machine learning project that I have ever done. It was a first time learning experience. I had learned about how to use machine learning, how to use the scikit-learn libraries, and all that kind of great stuff. So thanks to Nokia, and after that first project, I kind of then started to work on different projects also in Nokia in regards to machine learning. But maybe I'll pause there for now. If there are going to be any more questions or maybe any more specific questions, I'll continue on. But for now, more or less, that's me.
Man, that's really awesome intro, Dan.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, that's an amazing journey, and yeah, many of us might wanted to travel in the path that you have already traveled. Then, yeah, it's yeah, really inspiring. Yeah, Akshay, please.
So like when Dan is saying that he was working for Nokia and they were trying to do a lot of amazing stuff. So I would like to share a very small story about it. So when back in 2016 when I started my internship, so at that time the company that I was working for was basically that was taken over by a consortium of BMW and Daimler. And before that, when I was in my college and when I got to know about this company, they were owned by Nokia. And they were building maps particularly for some automotive customers as well as for Nokia. And when I went to college, I had this phone. If you know, Microsoft was selling these Nokia Lumia phones, and they had this app which is Nokia Drive. If someone has seen that, and you won't believe me, the app was very fascinating. And at that time, people did not know anything about Google Maps or anything, right? So yeah, so Nokia actually was doing a lot of great stuff back then, but I'm not sure that how where exactly are they now. But yeah, they actually did some great stuff in past.
Yeah, I remember that Akshay. Actually, one of my colleague bought a Lumia phone when I was in Mumbai. Actually, yeah, that time, right? Yeah, he used his Lumia phone to navigate to some place. I was really amazed. Actually, yeah, I still remember that. Yeah, thanks
True, true,
for
yeah,
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 yeah. It
likewise.
was yeah really good experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that mentioning, Akshay. Actually, and yeah, we will just. I just want to clear the main intention of this space. So daily I used to get a lot of DMs like how I should just get into machine learning, how I should learn this, what are the free resources, what is the roadmap. So this kind of general and common questions we used to see a lot in a general like in data science space. So I just want to clear all these kind of little doubts, like whoever maybe we just want to get into data science, or let's say anything, they just want to get any suggestions. So for freshers, this space should help. So that's the main intention of this space. So and yeah, we will just take the questions. I'm just getting a lot of requests from the speaker, like the listeners as well. We'll just take all the we'll just accept that, and you can just ask your questions as well. And yeah, before that, I just want to ask. So we just have different roles in, like let's say data science and machine learning, like right from machine learning engineer, data scientist, data analyst, ML ops engineer. So there are a lot of kind of roles available in this space. So how you just how you just take that, like what's the different kind of roles you just have seen, and how one should get into the space, what's the different kind of roles that you just seen in your day-to-day experience. So I just want to ask this to the speakers, and yeah, you can just go ahead.
I guess I could start in regards to roles. It's a funny thing about these roles. See, we may start off with, because I recently switched companies, but during the process of looking for different jobs, I found it very frustrating when it came to applying to these various different jobs, because one thing is really important to keep in mind is that these the definitions of these various roles are so different from company to company that it's absolutely ridiculous. For one company that they say, they're hiring a machine learning engineer, it actually might turn out they actually looking for a data scientist, or a different company says machine learning engineer, but in reality they're looking for a software engineer. And so, uh, in regards to these roles, you have to be like very careful and more analyze the requirements of what they're actually looking for, and based on the requirements, does it fit exactly what you would like to be doing on a day-to-day basis. In my personal experience, and this is actually one of the most popular kind of requirements or definitions of a machine learning engineer, is that usually a machine learning engineer would be a quote unquote full stack engineer, meaning you kind of are responsible from the whole entire machine learning pipeline from beginning to end. And that is basically what kind of had a situation in Nokia. For one project, we got an idea to try to do something, and we had to do everything from scratch, from beginning to end. From scratch meaning we had to collect all the necessary data by ourselves. We had to create our own kind of training pipeline for ourselves. We have to create the models for ourselves. We have to somehow integrate into production ourselves. So quite often, that's a very popular definition of a machine learning engineer. But the actual book definition of a machine learning engineer would be someone who takes a already pre-trained model by a data scientist and then tries to integrate that into the production or the infrastructure, or where the entire kind of system is kind of working. And that more or less is what I'm currently doing right now as a machine learning engineer. Because before, like I said, I used to be this quote unquote full stack engineer where I had to do a little bit of everything. But right now in my current job, my my current definition of my role, what exactly I'm doing, is that I'm taking a already pre-built machine learning model. So I'm actually not creating machine learning models as a machine learning engineer. I'm taking the pre-built model, and I'm trying to integrate it into our infrastructure. So we have this kind of architecture done in Kubernetes of how exactly the information is flowing from one end to the other. And so I integrate that machine learning model into that infrastructure so that it works with the production. So when it comes to these machine learning roles and models, and I mean machine learning roles and various different definitions, you really have to be careful of what exactly a company is looking for and what they're asking for. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, that's an important point, Dan. So when it comes to startups or all these kind of roles, is we should able to take all these kind of roles. Like when it comes to like a big uh, companies, or let's say any like any kind of big companies, then they used to sort out these kind of roles like data scientist, machine learning engineer, and these kind of things. So yeah, that's an important point. Like we should be careful on what the role that we're just choosing. And yeah, what's your take on this, Akshay? Yeah, you can just go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, Dan quite well explained how things actually work in the industry. So, if you broadly see, we have three major skills in data science. Like you have knowledge of the ML algorithms, mathematics, and of course, a data scientist has to be a good programmer as well. You cannot escape programming, so that is there. And then the second thing is having these core software engineering skills. And then there is third thing wherein we talk about this data visualization, collaboration, and communication. So among these roles like data scientist, data engineer, or data analyst, there is a major skill set overlap. And in my experience, what I've seen is, depending on the business requirement, or the requirement of the project, time and time people try to switch between the roles. So I myself, if I talk about myself, I have worked both as a, you can say, data scientist as well as an ML engineer. So when I say ML engineer, may not be a core software engineer, but I had taken at least responsibility for end-to-end deployment of the models or something that I've trained, right? So on papers, these rules, you might see some sort of hard boundary between these roles, but actually it isn't there. So there's a major skill set overlap, and depending on the requirements, people often switch between these roles. So my suggestion, like if you want to get into the field, you start with something that you're comfortable with, and then gradually try to broaden your skill, right? So yeah, that's my perspective about it.
Yeah, I love that, Akshay. Thanks for mentioning that. And yeah, Baish, what's your take on that? Can you just go ahead?
I believe across different roles, especially when you're a data analyst or a data scientist, one thing is one key skill that is very prominent out there is definitely Python. Apart from that is SQL, right? And since what actually happens is, like when you're a part of a company, like fetching data and all of that is very exclusive to the company you'd be working for. So there may or may not be many opportunities for you to practice SQL out there, right? But Python can actually be practiced in various ways for the fact that there are a lot of other platforms which enable you to practice. Not saying that they're not platforms for SQL, right? But the way you'll be using SQL is very exclusive to the organization you'd be a part of, right? But if you're practicing Python, it is not as constrained as SQL, in my opinion, right? So one thing, in my opinion, that people should definitely practice is SQL, because what actually happens is Python, you definitely get a lot of opportunities. You can make a lot of projects and all of that to practice Python, but make sure you're not, leaving SQL behind, right? And I believe machine learning engineer roles and data scientist roles are covered anyways, right? So I'll look up for data analyst and data engineer roles. uh, would be would try to finish it as quickly as possible. So for data analyst roles, it's like, as already mentioned, it also depends on the kind of organization you're being a part of. Sometimes data analysts do act like data scientists and vice versa, right? So it also depends largely on the organization, their beliefs, and obviously the job description, right? So, but in general, if you want to understand what what a data analyst does, it's basically about, as the term suggests, it's about analyzing things, right? So what is the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist now is that data analysts are not that savvy when it comes to mathematics and modeling, right? In general. But again, if you're talking about, like, it might differ and depend on the company as well, right? So that was a disclaimer that I had given earlier as well, right? But in general, data analysts are the ones who are more or less on the analysis side of it, and are are good with visualizations and as well, right? So if I'm supposed to tell about myself, like for the role that I'm a part of, I'm supposed to do analysis, supposed to do visualizations as well. There are data scientists in my team. There are data scientists in my team who are making dashboards and all of these things as well, right? Along with business analysts. So not to be, it's all about, I would say it's all about the skills that you should have. You should not focus much on the role, because the role and the things that would be given to do depends largely on the company that you'd be working for. For data engineer roles, right? You'll have to understand that these people are really good with pipelines, right? These people work with data scientists and data analysts and sometimes with business analysts also, right? So these people have to be good with cloud based technologies, and also like big data technologies, right? And obviously SQL is an intersection, be it data analyst, data scientist, or a data engineer, right? So SQL and Python, for that matter, right, is an intersection of all the three roles. So make sure you choose your role. I mean, what you want to be very wisely, and make sure that you have the skills for that. Last thing before giving back the mic to Sumant is that uh, make sure what you are willing to do or what you want to do, you have some good amount of, what do I say, projects and research backing up, right? There should, you do not necessarily have to have a very logical reasoning behind why I want to be a data scientist or an analyst for that matter, but you should understand that whatever you want to be for that matter, you should be thorough with the ins and outs of what that role expects out of you, right? And especially for that particular company, what that role expects out of you. Yep, that's pretty much from my side. Thanks a lot, Sumant. Back at you.
Hey, thank you for mentioning that, Bhavish. And yeah, go ahead, Akshay.
Yeah, so I would like to mention one small thing here. So usually when we hear so much about these terms like AI and data science, so as a beginner, I would advise that never get fascinated, a little too fascinated with data science and AI. So you should, I mean, it's equally hard to be a good data scientist as it is hard to be a good engineer. So that's what I have seen. And you should focus on both the things. Like you should also, when you're doing your graduation and when you're, say, you're a computer science grad, you should try to focus on the engineering aspects of the things as well, right? So if you are, I mean, you are good with, mathematics and the skills in data science, along with that, if you're a great engineer, trust me, it's a great weapon in your arsenal. And yeah, you would always be in great demand in the industry. So yeah, so never overlook or ignore uh, the engineering field as well. So that's also very important when you're working for an enterprise, because yeah.
Yeah, that's really important, and thanks for mentioning that, actually. And the other important thing when it comes to data science and machine learning is a communication. And like whether it may be understanding the problem statement, or let's say when you're just talking to the clients or presenting the solution. Well, not only data science, like even in normal software, in other roles as well, communication is plays a vital role. So I just want to know what's your opinion, like how you just experience this kind of thing while working for different companies. And so yeah, so who gonna take this question? Like Dan, can you just go ahead?
Sure. Communication. Well, I guess, huh. I guess I will have to say, it's not that very easy to translate technical information to, especially when you're trying to explain what exactly is that you are trying to do for upper management, as I would like to say, especially if you're working in corporations. Then you have to usually explain to your manager of the manager of the manager that's somewhere above you of what exactly you're doing, what are your results, why are exactly we're getting these results. And so it's kind of very important to mm, not not to go very technical, because then usually they get bored and they don't really understand what exactly you're talking about. Is the importance here is to use the type of language that they would really understand. Visualization, of course, is very important, because you can't just say, oh well, we're getting bad results because we're getting bad results. No, that's not gonna cut it. Being able to visualize the data is in trying to explain that, hey, the reason that we're getting these bad results is because we're having a lot of similar data that as you can see are overlapping each other, and we're having a hard time to uh, lost for words right now. We have overlapping information and we're trying to distinguish, and it's hard to distinguish for the model and so on and etc. So from my experience when trying to explain to upper management, it wasn't easy at first, but then later, you would usually have to have these extra kind of meetings because usually they were interested to understand more what exactly is going behind the scenes. So I guess my best advice would be try to make things simple and easy, but as clear as possible to understand when trying to explain what exactly you're trying to convey. So that at least that's it for me.
Yeah, that's very well explained, Dan. That you just shared your experience. That's awesome. And yeah, Akshay, can you just go ahead?
Yeah, Suman. So actually, uh, we are not working in silos. So it's not like that you have an idea in your mind and you'll just right away start working on it. You know. So before that, you need to talk to your stakeholders, maybe your manager, and maybe the leadership team who is taking care of the project, or uh, something bigger that your team is working on, right? So it's very important that you are able to express your thoughts and also put them out in a convincing way. So I think Dan just mentioned that it's very important that you are able to put all your ideas on table, and for that you should have good communication skill, as well as you should take help of great visualizations as well. So it's very important that you convince people around you that, okay, this is the solution that I'll work on, and it is actually going to create some business value, right? And it is maybe there's always a legacy system that you are going to change, or something that you are trying to improve. So you should be able to clearly show that, okay, this is how the thing that I'm going to work on is better than what is existing or what is previously uh, there in production. So you have to get better at it. And also, I mean, for your growth as well, it's very important that you are able to communicate your ideas out, and you are able to convince people around you that you are creating some value. So it's not just about data science. Anywhere, if you're working in the industry, you should have great communication skills. So that's a must to have.
Yeah, I completely agree with that actually. And thanks for mentioning that as well. And yeah, Bhavish, can you just take that? And can you just share your experiences with that?
I mean, I have similar experiences as Dan and Akshay, and I believe they already have answered. So there's nothing much left for me to add.
Cool. So yeah, we can just go ahead, and anyone who the listeners who are just listening, if you just have any kind of questions or if you just want to talk, so feel free to send a request and we'll just try to accept that. And yeah, we'll just go ahead with the next question. Now, I just want to ask this kind of, so when you're just learning data science, definitely when you just learn data science, so definitely you might have followed some kind of approach, right? Like learning the theory first, or doing the projects later. So there might be some kind of approach that you just followed. So if you just want to learn now, if you just want to start this complete thing as a fresher, so how you do, how you start learning that? So I just want to ask this question because definitely you might have faced this kind of issues, this kind of you might have this kind of regrets now. Like I should have done this kind of thing. I should have done this kind of thing as better. So yeah, if you can share that, even the listeners who don't like who are just starting into this field as data science and machine learning, even it would be useful for them like to follow a proper approach, to follow to follow a better approach. So it would definitely help. So yeah, Akshay, can you just share your experiences and what are the things that you would just change, and what's that? Can you just share that?
Okay. So I mean, honestly, it's a little hard to sort of chart down a roadmap briefly here. But what I would say is, I mean, the internet is free, and we know that there is a lot of information that you can get for free. But the important part is that you should learn to cut through the noise, right? So if you get started, so we all know that you have to start with the Python, then you have to usually people start with Python, I would say, and you have to get better at mathematics and statistics and everything. So we all know that what is the best free resource for it, and and maybe, and if and you should also not be reluctant when you know something is good, and you might need to pay for it as well. So that's also not bad. So I would say if you start something, you first of all you just finish it, right? And try to cut through the noise. Don't listen to a lot of people, or a lot of suggestions. If you know that something is good, then just focus on it and complete it. And a while back, also I just shared a sort of a journey that I took, and as well as a few of my colleagues took. So I wrote a thread on Twitter. So maybe if someone wants, you can just DM me, and I'll send a link to you. So that basically charts out the journey and I took, and some of my colleagues took, and yeah, all of them are sort of doing fine as of now. So yeah, please reach out to me if you need more info regarding that.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Akshay. And yeah, Dan, can you just share like what are the things that if you just want to start learning data science again? So what are the one thing that you just focus, like what are the mistakes that you just done? So what's your take on that?
Hmm. Well, in my personal experience, I kind of started backwards. Instead of starting with the theory, I kind of started with the project because, like I mentioned, I had the opportunity to start working on a machine learning project at work. So I got the project first before learning the theory. So my experience is a little bit backwards, but first and foremost, I like to always say get excited about what you're going to be doing. So um, of course, projects are very important. If you can, try to jump into any kind of project, even if it's, some basic using common libraries as scikit-learn. Of course, that's always the best library to start with as a beginner because, you just import the library and within 3 lines of code, you have a working model. So as a beginner, of course, that's absolutely great to start with. So, but for everyone else, I guess that is trying to start their journey, in whether it's machine learning, data science, etc. First and foremost, you need to learn how to program. So Python would be a great way to start. And of course, there are tons of, like it was mentioned before, there are tons of free information on the internet. YouTube, as always, is your best friend. There are tons of learn Python in 1 hour videos. So getting down the fundamentals, and you'll know Python in at least 1 hour, and you can start doing machine learning. But once you get Python, done and get it all down and get all the fundamentals, uh, you could try doing some basic tutorials of how to do some machine learning, some basic, like I mentioned, basic importing, basic data sets, how to import them, and so on. So first and foremost, get excited about doing these various projects. And once you can see that, oh, I'm making my first predictions and this looks so cool, then you will be more curious and interested in going to the maths and so on, because then you understand why you're learning the math. Because if you start learning the math before you start learning machine learning, then you get bored quickly and you don't know why you're even doing this, and this is such a pain, and why should I even continue, and so on. So, like I said, better to get excited first, and then you'll be more interested and intrigued to get into the more harder stuff like the math and statistics and so on. So, um, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dan. And also, I just believe that what the approach that you just followed, like starting with projects and just learning it from there, like the back down approach. So that's really important. Like we should, even I just feel, or even when I just started learning, like I just spend a lot of time on like focusing on this maths, statistics, all the things. And then after 1 month or 2 months, after learning all the things, I just started doing projects. So even if I just want to start learning it again, I would just prefer going with the approach that you just followed, like starting with projects, like getting the fundamentals and just starting with the projects and just learning whatever the required for that project to improve that project, whatever is required, and just started like start learning it again. So yeah, that's really important point that you just mentioned there. And yeah, Bhavish, can you just share your experiences with that?
Definitely, man. In my opinion, I would say that there is no right thing to start first, because it is very subjective, and it totally depends on what all things you have and where you're coming from. So what do I exactly mean by that? So let's say you're coming from a maths background. You are already very good with statistics, probability, and all of that, assuming that you are into that section of maths, right? And if you want to become a data scientist or something like that, then probably you'll have to focus more on your coding aspect and all of that, right? But let's say you are coming from a core coding background where you already are aware of Python and all of that, right? And so in that scenario, your first requirement would be to learn mathematics first, right? So I would not say that learn this first or learn that first, but I would say learn it all rather than having a mentality of learning this thing first, learning that first. Because at the end of the day, all of these things would be very helpful to you and your career, right? For the job would you be doing, and for the skills that would be required for you to do, for you to have, for to do the task that has been asked you to do, right? So for all of that, all of these skills anyways would be very useful, right? So you should never be thinking it in a way where, okay, what all things do I have to go, I have to learn first and all of that. However, if any day you would ask me like what my preference is for someone who is like a beginner into this, right? So I would prefer Python for that, right? And then you can take off with machine learning. I mean, first of all with mathematics, then machine learning algorithms, alongside SQL projects and all of that. So yep, that's from my side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning, sharing that, Bhavish. And also one of the things that I just seen, which is important when it comes to uh, data science and machine learning, is domain knowledge. So definitely, if you are just uh, taking any kind of problem statement, definitely having a knowledge on the domain that you're just working on is very important. So I just want to know what's your take on this. Like, uh, how important is it? Like, what's your experience with domain knowledge when you're just working with some kind of projects or some kind of domains? So I just want to ask this question. So yeah, Dan, can you just go ahead?
Sure. So in my previous experience, when it came to domain knowledge, it it has been critical to understand uh, the information that you're using to train your model. Um, Depending on, of course, on the project that you're working on, you usually get stuck into these various situations of whether okay, because when you get a data set, especially from real life, you try to create these various features for your model, and then when you create these features, certain features work, other features don't, and you have to understand also a little bit. Well, to a certain extent, you would probably survive without knowing the domain knowledge. But it is much, much better if you do understand what exactly is going on behind the information, because then you know what information is unnecessary to include in your model and what information is necessary. And whenever you do lack any kind of information about the domain knowledge, do try to find help to find out what exactly that information means. So in my case, when I was working on these various, they were called KPIs, or basically statistics that were generated by the base station, for more further, deeper knowledge of understanding of why this worked that way and why this worked that way, I would have to go to the more experts at the company to, have discussions with them and to try to better understand how this looks like and so on. So, of course, like I said, to a certain extent, I was able to survive without knowing the domain knowledge. But then later, I had to go search and do a little bit more research and talk with the experts at my company to better understand what exactly I am working with. And then that helped me, of course, to better work with my data, to better clean it, and so on. So it is very important. I think maybe sometimes others might argue that it's not always important because, for example, if a person can win a Kaggle competition with very high accuracies, usually those features are hidden features and you don't know what exactly you're working with. So I've heard some people say, yeah, you don't really need to understand the domain knowledge behind the information, but I guess that always depends. But in my personal opinion, domain knowledge is quite very important. Of course, is maybe not always accessible, but when possible, try to go search for that information to best understand the data that you are working with. So that's at least my opinion.
Yeah, that's important, Dan. And even when I just working with some of the projects, I've just faced this kind of issue. Like when it comes to come up with some kind of good solutions for the client. Like having domain knowledge will have an extra boost to your features, like and like what you just mentioned, whether to select this kind of feature, what are the features which are important, what are the features that we can just eliminate, or let's say if you just want to like from the existing features, what new features we can just come up with, so that it can just actually help this whole problem statement. That's also one of the things that I just faced. So definitely domain knowledge will plays a very vital role when it comes to solving these data science like the projects and use cases. And yeah, I would love to know what's your take on this, Akshay.
So I think both of you have pretty well explained it, but I would just like to add this statement. So I totally agree that properly having the domain knowledge regarding the problem that you're working is very important. And why it's important? Because it always helps you to build a simpler solution. And believe me, building or finding a simpler solution is the hardest part. So when you are working for a company, so they are not interested in whether you have used a state of the art model or not, or how difficult was it to build this. So they are only interested in the outputs or the business value that you are creating, right? And for that, usually finding a simpler solution always works. So I'm not saying that don't use machine learning or don't use something good, but always try to find the simpler one. Okay. And for that, domain knowledge is something that really helps you out. So that's very important. And to add one more thing to it, so when you are working with a company, right? So there are domain experts as well, right? So people who have some experience already have some experience of working with the sort of problem that you are doing, or at least some domain experts. We always have them in our company. So always try to discuss out the problem that you are trying to solve and the solution that you are thinking of. So you are always going to get some very valuable input from them. So maybe you would get to know about adding a very good feature to your basically your data set, right? Or something, or you would be able to eliminate a few things which you right away you can eliminate a few things, and you would know that okay, they are not going to create any value. So yeah, it's very important to focus on this aspect, I would say.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, actually. Yeah, when it comes to a normal um, big companies, they used to have these kind of domain experts of, and they can just help you out when you're just solving any kind of problem, or when building some kind of application. And yeah, when it comes to a small kind of startups, like where I just worked as an intern, definitely like having a discussion with the client, and as well as having a discussion with the boss also will be, and discussing what's the important thing that we just want to do, and what we are actually solving, what are the actual what are the solution that the client is asking, what's the requirements. So discussing this within a group, or like having a call, or let's say discussing this will definitely rise to some of the good things, and also will help you to build a good model actually. So I just completely agree with that actually. And yeah, Bhavish, like, what's your take on this?
Man, I believe Dan and Akshay have completed all of it, their answers, and also you added. So all of that was very comprehensive. I don't believe I have anything else to add to that. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, and also we just have a other speaker like for us. Like if I'm just
Hey,
spell, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, go ahead with that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's right. So I have a question for the speaker panel. So it's regarding the math that you need to know, right? So in my machine learning journey of learning ML and deep learning, I have math as I needed to. Like I hit linear regression, I want to know what a slope is. I hit logistic regression, I want to know um, how it works, what's the sigmoid function, what's the purpose, right? When I go to PCA for dimensionality reduction, I wanted to know like how does multidimensional information get condensed into a smaller dimension, right? I wanted to see the math behind that. I looked at it, I have a fair understanding. When I'm looking at computer vision, I see how all the convolutional networks work. It's all about matrices and matrix multiplication, matrix manipulation to save space and to save time, right? So I'm taking math as I see them in the models and as and when it's required. Is there any problem with that approach? Um, on the contrary, is it better to just sit down and learn the whole linear algebra, whatever you can, and then learn all the statistics, and then pick a probability, learn everything, and then jump into learning the actual machine learning models? So I want to know if I was on a path that is okay, or do I have to make any changes?
So I believe, Raj, that you are absolutely right about what you're doing, and so these so any good thing takes time. So one just has to be patient, and you would gradually learn things. So I think that you're doing good. That you're just not picking up math, or if you're stuck at something, then you just try to master that, because learning never ends, and it's like a sea of things that you need to learn. So if you're switching between two things, you would not get overwhelmed and you would not get bored. So I believe that this is the right approach to go with.
Thanks, Akshay. Dan, did you have anything to say about it?
Yes, I would say that I would also agree that you are doing a good. It's a good approach that you're doing with that. Um, the math subject is a very controversial topic, from what I have noticed recently. A month ago, I posted some kind of post about needing math for machine learning or something like that, and I got a very wide response of in regards to half of people were saying yes, you very much need math for machine learning, and another half were saying, oh, I never use math for machine learning. What are you talking about? I'm a machine learning engineer and I don't need math. So in no way am I saying you don't need math, but I was quite surprised with the various responses that I got. Um, but the approach that you're doing, I think is very good. Especially when you're kind of actually using the math in practice. Of course, it depends on the situation, as always. I had both situations. I had situations where I never really needed math that much, which were usually in my beginning projects because they were usually kind of very simple machine learning models. So nothing too complex. But I also had projects where I got to play around with reinforcement learning, and that's a little bit more heavy-duty math, where I had to actually read the various scientific papers and try to actually re-implement the mathematical formulas that were in that paper. So uh, I was on both sides of the spectrum. Uh, so by all means, math is of course necessary, but in my opinion, if you can find a way to learn math and doing it in a practical way, So you're not just learning the linear algebra and that's it, but you're actually applying that linear algebra in some kind of way while building machine learning models, then it makes the learning a lot more interesting. So as long as you're trying to make it interactive, that sounds great. But of course, as always, if you love math so much that you don't need anything else and you read math all day long, then if you love that, then that's fine also. But whichever way best works for you. So
Thanks, Dan.
And yeah, I've seen Akshay have raised his hand. So yeah, do you have anything to share, Akshay?
Yes, I would just like to add one more thing. Like, if someone, like, I totally agree with the approach that Faraz is following. But if someone, there are people who would not like to, ride on two horses. So I would suggest that if that is the scenario, then you just try to get very good at programming, because end of the day, it's not like that you would be designing the architectures and everything. You would be building your own models, because a lot of time you would find a lot of open source implementations. You would be using them, and of course it's very important that you understand the intricacies and details. For that you have to be better at maths, but most of the work would be programming. So absolutely, you should get very good at programming first if you want to focus on that just one thing, and then gradually learn the things that are important to totally move into machine learning. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay. Thanks, Akshay. And I'm hearing that the process that I've been following sounds okay to you guys, but I'm also hearing that I have to be comfortable with mathematics for the reason and for the purposes of what Dan mentioned, that a real world scenario might come up where I have to go and look into a research paper and look at the math and what they have done and be able to implement that programmatically, what Akshay was saying. So I think it makes perfect sense. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for asking that for us. And yeah, we just have another speaker. So Thomas, can you just introduce and can you just ask your question if you have anything to share?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Thomas. I just wanted to chime in on the conversation about math. So I'm a year into data science. I took a statistics course. I learned Python, learned R programming as well. And in terms of the math portion, wouldn't it be enough to understand the concept and the use case of a specific statistical analysis technique? Like, let's say linear regression, for example. If you understand why you need linear regression, not necessarily knowing how to do the math by hand, just understanding that, in linear regression, we use historical X and Y values to predict future Y values, or with logistic regression, where it's a binary labeling, like let's say cybersecurity, for example. When we're looking at emails, we can use logistic regression to label an email as a scam or not a scam. So wouldn't it be okay to just understand the underlying concept and the use case of the math, and then have your computer and your machine implement and do all the laborious math work for you? Wouldn't that be enough?
if I could chime in first, I would say absolutely yes. In most cases, that is the case. You don't really need to know exactly how to calculate everything because that's what computers are for today. But when I was in school, they always taught us, first you have to do it by hand so that you understand what exactly is happening. And then once you've done everything by hand, then you could do it with a calculator or with a computer to make things faster. But in general, yes, understanding the concepts of how exactly, high level of how exactly this all works is kind of like the most important. And as always, it depends on the situation of whether or not you need to go deeper into the mathematics. Like I said, if you're going to be doing some research paper analysis, or maybe you're more of a research type of role because they're machine learning researchers type of roles, then of course the maths might be a little bit more complex and you're actually doing the mathematical, computations either by hand or whatever. So as always, it depends on the situation. But I think, the most important is to at least understand the high level concepts, and that should be good for most cases.
Yeah, and just for clarification, so in terms of like reinventing the wheel, you're saying that it would be important to kind of understand the math, but when you're kind of working with previous used models, it's okay to just understand concepts and then just have the computer apply things for you, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not a sin to use, those kind of pre-built models. Like I said, it all depends. Really, the answer is it all depends. But maybe someone else could better explain this.
Yeah, Akshay, you can just go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Earlier when I was working, so I had some some of my colleagues, like they were very good engineers. So they were also facing a similar problem. Like sometimes they found maths a little overwhelming, right? So and during that time, so I think it was around 2017 or 18. During that time, if you have heard of, there was this course that was created by Jeremy Howard, and it's fast.ai, and it's a top-down approach. So he just first, uh, first showed you that how easy it is to build a model, right? And what exactly are the outputs it is giving, and what kind of problem are we trying to solve? And then he gradually followed into uh, the details, like what all maths is involved, how exactly are we able to build it, and everything. So those engineers found that course very relevant. And apart from that, I mean, if you are starting wherein you just uh, you would also like to learn math as well as want to see it applied at the same time, right? So if you are interested in reading book, then there is this book, Introduction to Statistical Learning. So it's a very good book, and I mean, lot of people might already know about it. And if you are someone who is like interested in doing it from videos or tutorial courses, then I think you must have heard of this course by Andrew Ng, which is Introduction to Machine Learning, right? So it's the new specialization that has just come. It's in Python. So those two things I have seen that it's a mix of both mathematics and right away trying to see an application of it in a machine learning algorithm. And yeah, so for beginners, it's very good, and it does not get overwhelming. So maybe you can give it a try.
Yeah, that's important point that you just mentioned, actually. Like whenever we are just learning a concept, understanding where we're gonna use it will definitely will not bore you, like when you're just learning a concept. So, and also I just pinned a tweet on a top. You can just see. That's my, like when my teacher have just teaching like the linear algebra, like this kind of equations, etc. I used to feel like why I should learn this and what's the use of it. And I just studied just for the kind of just for the sake of marks and kind of things when I'm just childhood. But now I just understood like what's the important of it, that the simple equation y is equal to mx plus c, like how revolutionized it is. So yeah, like understanding and just like when you're just learning any concept, just understanding how it's gonna use. For example, let's say you're just learning any kind of like any kind of topic in statistics, or let's say linear algebra or maths, like understanding how and when we're gonna use it uh, will definitely help you, and it will just uh, motivate you to learn more about that particular concept. It won't get you bored. So yeah, that's also important thing. Thanks for mentioning, Dan, and as well as Akshay. And yeah, we can just go ahead with the questions which I just have. And when it comes to preparation for data science interviews, there are a lot of things to learn, prepare, like right from we have just discussed it, right? Like the programming, like the Python, statistics, algorithms. So a whole lot of things we just have when it comes to data science and machine learning. So how one should prepare, like any, they don't know, they don't have any kind of experience, they just have basic programming knowledge, they just have basic algorithms, like they just have an idea on that and they just build some projects. So how one should prepare for data science interviews? So I just want to know your opinion so that it will be useful for the listeners as well. And yeah, Bhavish, you can just go ahead. Yeah.
Awesome. So, what I believe is the first thing that you should prepare accordingly is to the company, right? So, what the basic, what kind of role that is, and what do they specialize in, right? This is the basic special. This is the basic information you should have for an interview. But if you're supposed to prepare for interviews in general, then read your resume first. Why? Because a lot of companies, a lot of interviews, what do they actually ask is on the basis of the projects that you have worked on, the things that you already know, right? So if you know your stuff well, you can actually design your entire interview by yourself. You would you can actually predict the kind of question the other person would ask the next, right? So that is point number one. Second thing, for any kind of thing that you are learning, you always have made notes of it, right? You always would have had made notes of it. So revise those notes. That is point number two. Point number three, go out on Google, try to find out what are the most asked machine learning or data science based interview questions, right? Possibility is that a few questions would definitely come out from that list, right? Just have a read of some 3 4 websites and then you'll be able to find some really good questions. Now let's say you have a list of 50 questions or 100 questions, maybe definitely there would be some 3 or 5 questions that the interviewer would ask you, right? So that thing has always helped me till now, and these are the things that I'm sharing with you as well, so I hope you find it useful.
Yeah, definitely, Bhavish. Thank you for mentioning that. And Akshay, can you just take this question and can you just share your experience uh, when it comes to preparing for the data science interviews?
Right, right. So I believe that Bhavish pretty well explained these some of the very important points that on how you can control your interview, right? So first of all, I think I would talk about the experience that me and some of my colleagues have had in India. So earlier, the data science interviews were not coding heavy, but now they are getting to it. And end of the day, you are doing programming, so you should get good at basically programming, right? So you should practice coding as well. And apart from that, don't fill your resume with hundreds of projects, right? So try to be very honest about it and just write what you have actually worked on. So even if you have just 3 or 5 good projects on your resume and you know in and out of it, so that is better than putting out 20 projects and maybe knowing properly knowing or having a good knowledge about 2 and 3 of them. So I mean, you just if you are doing that, you are creating a trap for yourself only. So just be honest about it. If you have if you don't have a lot of things in your portfolio, make sure that you know each and everything about what you have worked on. So always be honest about what you are putting on your resume. So that's also important. And at the end of the day, have a mindset that when you are going for an interview, the company is there to hire you, not reject you, right? So you just have to you just have to make sure that you convince them that you are someone who is going to create a value. So keep that mindset, and yeah, it should help you out.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Akshay. It's definitely some of the valid points that you just mentioned. Even I just want to share this kind of point. So even I just interviewed a lot of people on my channel, like they just from different kind of companies, right, from Microsoft, Amazon. So I just interviewed a lot of things. So one thing that they just mentioned is having one impactful project is like way more better than doing some 10 dummy projects. So that's really important point, Akshay, that you just also mentioned. Thanks for sharing that. And Dan, can you just go ahead and share your experience and how you would just advise someone to, like, when you're just preparing for data science interviews?
Hmm. Well, I'm sorry if I pronounced them wrong. Akshay and Bravish, they already made a lot of really great points. What I would add is the best way to prepare for an interview is to go to interviews. um, because it all really depends on the company that you're applying for. Uh, each company might have completely different questions. If a company who has never had a data science or machine learning team before, and they're just hiring someone for the first time, they have no idea what to ask for or anything. I have had seen these kind of situations. They really ask kind of general questions about what kind of basic things like how does a linear regression model work? What is a clustering algorithm? What is accuracy? What is AUC under the curve? Kind of basic, kind of machine learning type of questions. But at different companies where there are a lot more experienced and actually someone from the team is hiring you, uh, the the amount of information is a little bit more uh, is a lot more needed. And it doesn't just pertain to regular data science and machine learning questions, actually. I've had, general questions about programming and data structures and algorithms as well. So, I'd have questions about how does a binary tree work, the O of N optimizations of various functions. I had general questions about computers. Do I know what a CPU is? What's memory? What's multiprocessing? So general questions about the architecture of computers. And of course, then later general questions about machine learning as well. And of course, having that project is the kind of like the most important thing of having that project in your portfolio. In your portfolio is that they could ask various questions based on that project. So if you did create some kind of, well, let's keep it simple, it's the Titanic project, they would ask, okay, how did you check the accuracy? How did you create your model? What models did you use? What kind of problems did you face? How did you solve this problem with this project? So your kind of project is to explain your experience and or even solve different problems that you've never even solved before using your project as an example. Um, so those are kind of the various questions that you would have. And of course, at the very end, I would always have some kind of basic coding kind of task to do, usually in Python, that involved kind of the knowledge of classes or trying to create some kind of fragment of some kind of code, or maybe even analyze some kind of code and see if anything is wrong, or try to explain how I would fix it or how would I make it better and so on. So more or less, I think that's everything that comes to mind when trying to prepare for these interviews, or at least what kind of questions I had during these interviews. But of course, as always, Google as much as information as you can of the various interview practice questions that are available on the internet. And if you can, try to find out from maybe colleagues or maybe from other people on LinkedIn what kind of questions they have had before in these kind of interviews for the specific roles. So whenever you can, try to Google as much as possible.
Yeah, that's very important points, Dan. So if I just want to summarize, what are the points that Dan mentioned? So just focus on pure basics. So whatever maybe when it comes to Python or let's say machine learning, so just focus on some basics actually. So even if you are just doing any kind of small project, let it be a Titanic project, or let's say actually we don't recommend any kind of doing such kind of project. But even if you're just doing any kind of small project, like doing end to end is very useful, I guess. Like when it comes to interviews, like right from data collection to deployment. So if we can just do that, would definitely help. Like instead of, even if you can't able to do some kind of any kind of big impactful project, like doing a small available project as well, like if you are just doing from end to end, that would really help. And yeah, that's what the point that I just want to add to the Dan. And yeah, like that's really important point that you just mentioned, all like Bhavish, Dan, and Akshay. And also I just want to I just got some few questions as well in the comment. So one of the question asked by, so one of the question very large, or it's very difficult to remember. So this is the kind of question. So before giving to the speakers, I just want to add to this question. Like I guess you don't need to remember any kind of code when it comes to machine learning or anything. Like just try to understand how it works and what's the internal process, and how like at what situation you just want to use that kind of algorithm, or let's say any kind of concept. So yeah, that's my take on that. And yeah, I just want to the speakers as well to share your views on that question.
Can you please repeat the question?
So like when it comes to machine learning, the algorithms, the codes are pretty much large, so I can't able to remember that. So what I should do? So that's the question actually, Bhavish.
I'm not sure what code the person is talking
I
about, because
guess,
a lot of that is.
yeah. Like I guess it's mentioning about uh, the normal like the algorithms or something, I guess. But I don't think like no need to remember everything if that's the case. But I don't know like what specifically he's just asking. But that's the question. But anyway, like when it comes to like code, not only machine learning, even when you are just Python, when you're just doing programming, remembering is one of the things that I also done when I'm just starting learning programming. And I just want to know your opinions as well, the speakers. Like, what's your take on that? Like remembering any concept on programming, or let's say machine learning or data science. How you gonna take that question? Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
So,
Bhavish, please go ahead.
no, please, you please go ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay. So I have a very brief answer for it. So you do not need to remember code, right? Definitely, you should be able to recall concepts, but there is nothing to memorize once you try to understand things, right? And then there is always Google, right? So if you face some problem, or if you're working on something, then just first try to Google, right? If someone has already done it, then if you are able to understand it, it saves you a lot of time, right? So yeah, there is nothing like remembering code.
Yeah, I would like to add um, that I don't know where she is in terms of her experience with programming languages, but I think having a strong conceptual understanding of programming constructs, like you should know what is a constructor, why it's used, what are the control statements, what's the difference between them. Just conceptually knowing it is good enough, because you're going to hit a new programming language every few years, and if you have the concepts well defined in your head, then the approach would be, okay, I know what a constructor is. How do I do this in Python? How do I do this in Java? Whatever it is that you're learning. So try and learn the concepts well. And syntax is not important at all. I still look up syntax every time I code, no matter how many projects I might have done. But concepts are important. That's what I want to add.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that for us. And sorry, Bhavish, for not giving you the mic first. But anyway, you can just go ahead now.
Hey, that's completely okay, man. So what I wanted to say was that I actually believe in what Albert Einstein said, and he said that there is no point memorizing anything that can easily be referred. Okay, so the same goes for codes and all of that. If you're having any errors or something like that, you can simply find answers to that probably on Stack Overflow or GitHub pages, or you can simply Google out for syntax and all of that, as others have said as well, right? Now comes the part, like if you're talking about codes and machine learning and all of that, which earlier I asked as well, right? Most of the algorithms, like you're just making the objects of the classes and then all of that is done. You do not have to do anything, right? As far as remembering the code and all of that is concerned, you just have to remember three, four, 5 steps, and that is you have to fetch the data, you have to pre-process it, you have to see if it is uniform in case if that's a necessity, and after that you just have to train the model, and then visualization, or if you want to do anything apart from that. So these 4 5 steps are there. You just have to remember that if the concepts are clear, you'll be able to do that irrespective of the algorithm, right? Irrespective of the algorithm, even if the procedure stays the same, be it linear algebra, I mean, sorry, be it linear regression or neural network kind of a problem statement, right? The process, the procedure stays the same only. So, in most of the cases. So, I don't really think that you have to do anything apart from that. You just have to understand and remember the concept, and after that, you'll be able to implement it. And as others have mentioned as well, right? You just have to Google stuff, and after that, when you have see, googling is also a skill, right? Not that not that everything that you are actually mentioning in your resume is the only thing that you'll have to do, right? You have to understand that you'd be able to find the right answers via Google if you are searching it the right way. You should understand that what kind of keywords you should be using in Google queries and all of that, so that it will actually land you to the right blog or the right Stack Overflow page or whatsoever it is, right? So googling is also a skill. So now, as I said, as other people have also said, that you do not have to remember, you just have to understand the concept and you just have to recall the concept. Again, I'll quote Albert Einstein again, and it actually is valid everywhere. You do not have to memorize anything that you can refer easily. So that's it from my side. Thanks a lot, Sumant. Back at you.
Man, really, really amazing points, Bhavish. Thanks for bringing out here. And I'm just like if your listeners who just want to come up and you can just ask your questions, you can just request for the mic. And also, I just want to ask this. So it's already been. I just planned it for 1 hour, but it's already been one and off. But yeah, we will just wind it up quickly. And also, I just want to ask this: when it comes to searching for data kind of jobs, so there are pretty much there are a lot of platforms available. And also, I just seen some of the tweets by Bhavish today, like regarding the opportunities in data science, internships, etc. So, what are the things when you're just searching for any kind of data job? So, what are the things that we should keep in mind? Like it would be same or less, which it will be same for remaining jobs as well. So, what should one keep in mind when we are just searching for this data kind of jobs? So, and also, Bhavish, you can just share that tweet here on top of that, and also people can access, like one who are just looking for opportunities in data science, they can just refer that as well.
Yeah, definitely, man. And what I believe in terms of, if I'm supposed to answer, like in terms of searching for job opportunities and all of that. So, first of all, you just go to my profile, and if you'd be able to see, if you just type down 25, right? Yep, you heard it right. 25 in numerics. And if you search it, the first tweet that you should get is of 25 companies that hire freshers for data science roles in India. I have shared that tweet already, not in this space, but if you want, I would share that as well. So I have shared that tweet in Suman's space. You would be able to see it in a while. So these, like, this is the list of 25 companies that actually hire for data science roles in India, right? The second tweet that I've shared is for data science internships and like companies from Microsoft to early age startups and all of that, right? The list is there. 4 or 5 companies are there, so you can definitely have a look at that as well, right? So this sums up the list and all of that, the current hiring and opportunities, all of that I've shared till now. Apart from that, if you're supposed to look for opportunities in future, what all things you have to do? So now, first thing that actually comes in mind is it is not technical, it is psychological, and that is you do not have to be desperate. Now, why? Because let's say if you're someone who's actually looking for jobs, or if you're someone who's actually a college graduate, and we all know it is very difficult out there for a fresher to get into a data science role as compared to someone who's like into software development or something like that, then definitely that is true, right? But first thing that you'll have to understand and always keep in your head is that you do not have to be desperate about getting like a data science internship. It's like they might actually ask you to do data annotation and all of that, right? Which actually might not add even a penny worth value to your career, right? So make sure you're not being desperate. Make sure that the kind of internship roles or jobs or the companies that you are signing up for, they are actually adding something to your career. Because let's say you'd be switching job like after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know how many years, but let's say you're switching a job after that, right? For that interview you'll have to answer why did you join that company and what all things did you learn, right? A lot of roles, a lot of things might actually seem very easy to you, but you'll have to understand this one thing, that the job that is the best for your career is the one that actually pulls you out of your comfort zone regularly, right? So make sure the kind of job that you are getting into, you have done some really good amount of research, you have had a thorough conversation with the kind of roles and the things that you'd be doing, right? What can be expected out of it. You're not always supposed to answer. You can always have expectations also, right? You're not the only one who answers it. You can actually ask answers to, you can actually ask questions to the company as well, to the interviewer as well, right? What all things I've been working on, what all things is expected out of me, what all things are, what are the different kind of projects, what are the different kind of technologies I would be working on, and all of that. Because that is very important, right? Because at the pace at which technologies and innovations and all of that has actually been happening in data science is tremendously impressive, right? So you'll have to understand and you'll have to gauge things according to that. Now, this is the first thing that you have to do your research, and you do not have to be desperate. The second thing is that when you are applying for a job, make sure that you are articulating things in a way where you'll be able to present yourself the right way, right? Sometimes what actually happens is people apply. This actually happened in Rakuten, right? People actually applied for data scientist roles, but they were more of a data engineer fit, right? So that is because you do not understand yourself well, probably, or you do not understand. You did not understand the job description well, or whatsoever that may be, right? So make sure you are not getting into that thing. And the third thing, which probably is the most important thing, is that you'll always if you're someone who's actually a job seeker, right? Try to be in Telegram groups or try to be in Discord channels where, or WhatsApp groups for that matter, which where you know job opportunities and all of that is rigorously been posted out there, right? If you're a job seeker, your first priority should be finding a job, and for that you should be surrounded with people, you should be surrounded with resources, you should be surrounded with blogs where you're getting updated every now and then about the new job opportunities that are out there in data science, right? So I would not take much of a time, but follow the right people on Twitter who are actually posting our job opportunities. Be in the right Twitter groups, or Twitter groups or Telegram groups for that matter, where job opportunities are being posted. Be in Discord channels and all of that, Discord server channels and WhatsApp groups as well, right? Make sure you're surrounded with ample amount of resources that would actually enable you to get a job as soon as possible. So that's pretty much from my side, Sumant. Back at you.
And thank you, Bhavish. You have just pretty much decoded everything when it comes to like right from jobs search to how to apply, like what should be the right mindset. You just pretty much decoded everything. Thanks for that, Bhavish. And if we just have a new speaker, like if I'm not wrong, Tate, I guess you just raised your hand. You can just go ahead.
Hi, guys. Thank you for that information. I've been listening in, and I'm coming from a perspective of an absolute beginner. And I think Dan mentioned that Python is the way to go. But my question I just wanted to ask was, what would be like a course that you guys with experience would recommend, whether it's paid or a free course that you could suggest to someone like me who started directly, I mean, from scratch?
Yeah, go ahead, actually.
So I would recommend that if you want to properly learn Python, and if you want to be patient and have some time to dedicate to it, so it would be CS50P by David J. Malan. So it's a very so this guy has been teaching computer science course for like over 20 years now, and recently so I did the CS50 course back when I was in college, and recently he has released this course on CS50, which is dedicated to Python, CS50P. So maybe that is one course that you can take up. It's free as well. So not that it's good because it's free. It's actually really good, and you can see the reviews for yourself.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and also we just have another uh, speaker here, like Hansberg, if I'm not wrong. So you can just go ahead with your question. Just introduce yourself and you can just go ahead.
Okay. Hello, guys. So I want to ask a question. When you talked about the googling part, yeah, surely googling do like help a lot. But then during interviews, are we allowed to Google, like from you guys that have more experience than me? Are we allowed to Google, like when you're trying to get something done and you get stuck? Are we allowed to Google? And how do we go about that? Then also, okay, my other question has been answered actually, because I'm currently working on the recommender system, and I found out that there are different recommender systems out there. So I don't really need to start everything from scratch from my head. There are actually guides that will help me. So that's not a question actually, but that Googling part I need an answer, please.
I guess I could quickly answer that one. In my previous experience in interviews, I was usually able to Google things only when I had the coding task. So when I had that Python task that I had to code something, I was given the ability to, if needed to, I could Google anything, or if I had a quick question or I forgot some kind of library to use or whatever, I could ask the interviewer and they could quickly tell me what it was. So usually you have some kind of chance to Google things, but for other questions, for other theoretical questions that they ask you, unfortunately, you do not have the chance to Google. But for coding, usually, at least for me, I did.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Dan. Also, we just have another speaker, Vanshika. Hi, welcome to this space. And yeah, can you just introduce and
All right. Can you hear me?
yeah,
All right. So, hi everyone. This is Vanshika. I'm currently working at Fractal as a data scientist. Previously worked with a lot of tech startups as a data analyst and a data engineer. Like closely worked in all the domains. So yeah, happy to help everyone out here. I especially aspire all the women here present, all the women in the panelist. So I would request you to, if you face any of the issue or if you're hesitant enough to start your journey, you can just ping me. I'll be there to help you out. I've been empowering women in STEM from past 4 years. So I'll be very happy to help you all girls out here, or whosoever is hesitant to reach out to anyone. Yeah. And also all the people present here, if you have any doubts in data science domain or if you need any resources, so just ping. That's all. Over to you, Suman.
hey, that's really great, Vanshika. Like the enthusiasm to help others and especially women in tech. So that's really a great. I appreciate that. And yeah, anyone in the listeners, if you just want to speak, if you just want to ask any kind of question, feel free to request the mic. Like feel free to be a speaker, and you can just go ahead with your questions. And also, I'm just asking these kind of questions, uh, pretty much all the speakers. Vanshika, can you just share your journey, like how you just get into data science? And I just seen you just working at Fractal. So, what's the complete journey to that transition journey to data science? So, can you just share that?
Sure. So I started my journey like in my college days itself. So I started with the like internship itself. Like in third year, I got into internship, which was more inclined towards data, visualization stuff. So I worked closely in Power BI and Tableau. Then later on, I started teaching kids. I used to teach school kids Python. So I started teaching them. I learned various functions around the various tricks and everything. Then I started, doing open source projects. Then in my final year, I was invited as a speaker at one of the college, whereby my journey started to get into hackathons as a judge and mentor. So I mentored students, whereby I got some insights that how people work, how do they integrate. I learned Django as well in between. Then I started solving previous year questions for the companies, whichever firm that visit our campus. So I started, solving those questions. I started doing Kaggle competitions. So after later on, I started with Google Solution Challenge, which is a global hackathon by Google, whereby we need to build some projects. And so I started working upon it, whereby I did some research. I wrote two research papers. One was automating driving practices, and number two was automating agriculture practices. So thereby I worked upon it with my closely with Atal Incubation Center, and then like luckily it will be getting patented soon. So that's all. My journey started from teaching to now actually, just learning, because you learn from everyone around. So it's not that your learning phase ends. You learn every day. Yeah, like you learn something new every day. So it's like I'm still learning. At my current firm, I'm working on Power BI and as well as PySpark. And that's all. For Fractal, there are basically 5 rounds. Initial 2 rounds would be on your, skills, your Python skills, your SQL, your Power BI skills. Then the last 3 rounds would be on analysis basis. Like you'll be given a case study. You need to find out the, outliers and all these stuff. So these were the 5 rounds in and around. So just practice well, have confidence, you will surely crack it if you have, done enough practice in your tenure. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's really great, Vanshika. Thank you for sharing your journey as well. And also, so I just want to ask this question. So there are recent advancement in machine learning, especially in NLP. Like we are just seeing different like big tech companies like Google or OpenAI. They're just coming up with some new amazing solutions like the Delay 2 and Imagen. So this kind of solutions. So what the future looks like when it comes to machine learning, and especially in NLP space. So I just want to hear the thoughts on the speakers as well. So yeah, Dan, can you just go ahead with that question?
Sure. Um, hmm. The future of AI. Well, we still have a lot of improvement to do. That's one thing for sure. But I think it still has a lot of potential. I'm very optimistic in what AI is capable of doing. I especially got really inspired about AI when I watched AlphaGo by DeepMind. It's actually a movie that you can actually watch for free on YouTube, and that really inspired, the technology that they're creating and the possibilities of what we're waiting for in the future. Especially, can AI be actually creative? Can they actually come up with these things that humans would have never, in a million years, ever think of? So, what the future holds for us is hard to say. I know right now when it comes to AI, it's both smart and dumb at the same time. Meaning, if you train a machine learning model between cats and dogs and you show them a picture of a bird, it won't tell the difference. So, we still have some kind of small, simple problems like that. But of course, we have more advanced technologies built with AI, such as, these deep fakes and other various technologies that especially DeepMind is working on that are really advanced and we would have not been able to do without AI. So, well, it's hard to say, but I'm very optimistic in the future that there's a lot of things waiting for us in the future, especially as technology continues to advance. Quantum computing is right around the corner as well. So I'm thinking, our training our models are going to become a lot faster. But basically, yes. In summary, I'm very optimistic of what we have to expect for AI in the future, and I can't wait to see what we come up in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely, Dan. And yeah, Akshay, can you just share your views on this question?
Yes, man. So I have not read in details. I mean, how exactly these text to image models work. I have definitely tried Dali Mini. So yeah, that's pretty good. But one thing that I like and that I have been using as well is so so I find these transformers very good, right? The reason because they're able to bring both computer vision as well as NLP together in terms of building the architecture, right? So the self attention mechanism and everything. So that is very good. So since I come from a this, I have primarily worked with computer vision problems in my career. So you must have heard of this thing with the CNNs, right? So if you build a face detector, right? So it tries to locally find all these things. Like it is able to detect these features like eyes, nose, uh, maybe ears or your lips, right? But it does not understand the relative orientation, right? So if you shuffle these features in a face, right? So if you put your say your lips over your nose, and you had trained a face classifier, right? So it would still call it a face. But now when you break, now when you're using a transformer and you are able to break this image into multiple chunks, and basically you create a separate embedding for each of these chunks, and there is a self attention mechanism that is coming into play that understand that relative to a particular feature where other features are present. So that is something that I find really fascinating, not because how it works, but actually I have been I work in the map domain. So we have a lot of problems, even if you bring it to computer vision space, that your models have to be context aware, right? They should not just be able to identify what all is present in an image, but they should also know what is their relative orientation. So there I have been able to solve a few problems using these vision transformers, which was not possible to solve using your classical CNNs. So I find these transformers very good. And the good part is, there is a similarity in the architecture of both. Uh, while you're using these transformers for your text, or while you're using it for your raster data, that is images. So that's a great thing. Earlier, I mean, if you try to understand LSTMs and you try to understand CNNs, you would not find a lot of similarity, apart from both are doing backpropagation and everything, but that uniformity is not there. So this is something that I like about it, that both these fields are coming together now.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure, Akshay. And thanks for mentioning that as well. And Bhavish, what's your take on the future of these kind of techniques in NLP as well as computer vision? So, what's your take on this?
Man, what I believe is that there are a lot of problems that can actually be solved. Uh, and a lot of them actually cater to automation, to the thing that is very redundant and is very repetitive. And I believe if you are doing that, we are actually saving a lot of time, right? So there is no point putting in efforts after something which is very repetitive, mundane, and is very time consuming. So tedious, repetitive, mundane thing should be automated, in my opinion. And we as humans should always level up and try to learn new things as soon as possible. And I'm really looking forward to the kind of things. I mean, like Dali and all of these things are coming into the picture. So I forgot the name of that, which is more or less a competitor to GPT. I forgot the name. It is by Google. Nevertheless,
Bert, I
so
guess.
no, not Bert. It was something from T. Nevertheless, no worries. So all of these things are actually giving us ample amount of options as well to choose from, right? So it is definitely for our goodwill as well. And as users will have options to choose what service we want to take, and which is the best for our use case. And I'm really very happy for the kind of contributions that are actually going on in open source for machine learning and all of that, data science in general. And kudos to all the people, all the maintainers of open source packages who are actually making sure that we are able to use them. So, yep, that's from my side. And Sumant, I'll have to push off. I have a few other commitments. So thank you very much for having me in this space. And I would say that to anyone who's out there in the audience uh, who's actually willing to ask for some resources or some openings or something like that, or looking for referrals, feel free to DM me. And if I'd be able to help you, I would love to. And apart from that, as I said earlier, also, I here on Twitter, I share resources, projects for fun, and opportunities as well. So I really hope that this conversation made some sense to you, and you might have learned something from this conversation. So, and nevertheless, thank you very much, Sumant, for having me. It was really a great conversation. I actually got to interact with Dan and Akshay for the first time, and obviously Afiz. So it was fun, and but I have a few other commitments as well. I have to be in a few other spaces as well. So thank you very much for having me, and have a great day, guys.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Bhavish. It's been pleasure having you as a speaker. And yeah, for sure, we will just have another space and we will just discuss more. And have a great day, Bhavish.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys. Good night.
And yeah, Akshay, you can just go ahead. You just have
Yeah,
something
Sumant.
to say.
I'll also have to take a hard stop. So it's been, it's been an absolute pleasure to
Yeah, yeah.
speaking to you all, and it's a great experience for me as well. And please feel free to reach out to me if you need any help. My DMs are open. And yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, and it was great to interact with all the speakers and all of you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you,
bye.
Akshay, for being here. It's been great, amazing that you just shared some of your learnings, and thanks for giving your time here. Actually, we just planned it for 1 hour, but it just extended.
Right, right.
That's
Yeah,
the kind of thing with spaces. But
yeah,
anyway, you just shared. Thank you for giving your time, and yeah, we'll just have another space and we'll just discuss more. And yeah, have a great day, Akshay.
yeah. Sure, Suman. Thank you. Bye
Good
bye.
night.
Good night.
Bye. And yeah, anyone from the listeners who just have any kind of questions, you can just request for the mic. I'm still available. We'll be having the space for another 10 minutes. So yeah, you can just request for the as a speaker, and you can just share your questions. Hi, Hafiz. Can we just can you just share your experience? So let's have this kind of an ending thing. Like let's have some fun. So just try to share your experiences with machine learning. You're just starting to learn. So can you just share that?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, yeah, I have been. I mean, working as a Python developer, and really, I mean, I'm very much interested in data science and machine learning. But unfortunately, right, I mean, I did not get the opportunity to work in my current job. So that is where I mean I started doing small projects on Kaggle, Sumant. But yeah, I'm looking forward to switch my career soon into data science and machine learning. Hopefully, yeah, I will get it soon.
Yeah, that's really cool, Hafiz. And yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, we are like the whole machine learning community is there for you to help and any kind of resources or any kind of thing. I don't know, I don't think you just require anything, but you're just aware of all the things. But yeah, all the best, and For
Yeah,
sure, we are there for this.
correct. Yeah, from this, I mean, in this space, right? Yeah, it's great actually. I mean, yeah, I got to learn many new things from Dan, Bhavish, and Akash, Akshay. Sorry. Yeah, definitely, I'm going to follow these points that these speakers mentioned. Yeah, very good points actually. Yeah, I think I see Thomas has raised his hand. Please, Thomas, go ahead.
Hey, Afiza, this is actually a question for you.
Yeah.
So I see that you're transitioning from software engineering to data science. What exactly were you doing within software engineering?
Uh, Basically, I'm developing microservices using Flask, and sometimes I do use Django for for developing microservices. Thomas.
Okay, yeah, because I'm only a year into data science. I was in a master's program for data science, but I'm actually more interested in front end software engineering, and so I'm actually thinking about making the transition from data science to software engineering. Um, so if you had any recommendations for me, I know that space is about to end, but if you had any like recommendations on where to start with software engineering on the front end of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, maybe we can discuss in our DMs maybe if you are okay with that. Because I
Yeah,
want to understand when you say yeah software engineering, right, exactly what you want to do. I mean, which area of work that you really want to do. Yeah, maybe we can discuss that, Thomas.
sure.
Basically, I mean,
Yeah, I'll send you a DM.
yeah, sure, Thomas. Basically, right, I have a very funny story. Currently, I'm working as a Python developer, but I started my career as a C programmer actually. So I was working in a banking domain, and those systems were like mainframes systems. So I was using C and some other programming language for developing these applications. So yeah, I was there for like 3 4 years. Then I switched my career to Python, and then yeah, I have been using Python for more than 5 6 years now. Yeah, looking forward to change my career to data science now. Let's see how it goes. I think we have a new speaker, Samantha. Let's hear from Omo.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Even though I've been having network issues here, it's been challenging with the network. But the question I want to ask, I started learning data science, Python, and the likes SQL. But the issue I have every time I go back to these codes, I find it very hard to write it offhand. I can't. It seems like I just forget the next minute. Even though I keep up with it, I've been persistent, but it's not easy for me. And I'm a machine learning enthusiast. So I don't know if there's any kind of way I can overcome this kind of issue. I will appreciate. Thank you.
Hey, sorry for that. Like I didn't got the question properly. So can you just repeat that? Or Hafiz, can you just share
No,
what
no,
he just?
no. Yeah, even I want to listen one more time. Can you please repeat the question, Omo?
Okay, I'm sorry, the network here is bad. I said I started learning data science and machine learning just like some months ago, but the issue I currently have is every time I pick it up, I do it every day, but every time I pick it up to write codes, it seems like I forget so easily. I don't know why. And of course, I'm smart, but I just want to write it off, and I don't know if there's any way you can shed light on, is it a normal experience, or is it something, or is there something I'm doing wrong that I need to do or correct?
Yeah, I just got it, Omo. So there is nothing. So we have already discussed that in the space as well. Like many of the speakers have also insisted this kind of thing. You don't need to remember anything when it comes to machine learning or any kind of programming. So yeah, just feel free to Google and don't just be harsh on yourself when it comes to like if you can't remember anything, it's completely fine. Like everyone will just forgot when everyone will just like will just try to search and just do the things. So just don't be harsh on yourself. It's completely fine. You don't need to remember anything. And yeah, it's not only to apply to machine learning. Even I just if you just ask me some kind of basic things in Python, even I can't just able to answer you, like even I might have forgot. So yeah, like it's completely okay, so don't be harsh on yourself. Yeah, that's the point that you just want to mention. And Hafiz, you can just share yourself as well.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point here. So, as Suman said, right? Yeah, it is okay to forget the things, and yeah, you can Google and then you can get the help. But the suggestion that I would like to give is don't copy and paste it. And when you are copying the code from somewhere else, right, try to understand it and then only use it. So if you simply copy paste and then if you just move ahead, right, then yeah, you won't learn anything from that OMO. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess like if no one have any kind of questions, we can just wrap up this
Yeah, thank you.
space. Yeah, thank you, Omo.
Yeah, thank you, Samant. This was really helpful, and there was a lot of great insight and knowledge from the space.
Hey, welcome for us, and thank you for sharing your views as well to some of the uh, questions. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Soma and Afiz, for hosting this one. This was really helpful, and I got to interact with the eminent speakers. Thank you so much. I asked my questions, got the answers. I do tweet about machine learning, deep learning, learnings as I go along the journey. So if there's anybody on the same journey, we can interact by the tweets. Thank you so much, Soma.
Yeah, for sure for us and anyone in the speak like listeners, you can just follow Faraz as well. Like he's just also creating some amazing content, so you can just follow his journey. And yeah, and also feel free to follow the other speakers as well here. Like Hafiz, he's just creating some amazing content when it comes to Python. You will just get tips regarding Python, some kind of basic resources, all the things you'll just get. So don't forget to follow Hafiz as well. And I've just seen that like Hafiz have just crossed 1,000 followers. Yeah, congratulations for that, Hafiz.
Thank you so much, Sumant. Yeah, for your kind words. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I guess like if no one is willing to if no one have any kind of questions, we can just wrap up this session. It's almost 2 hours, I guess. We are just hosting this, and yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes. We, if you don't have anything, we can just wrap up this space.
Unrelated to data science, but Afif, can you open your DMs or can you follow me back so I can send you a DM? It's not letting me send you one.
Yeah, sure, Thomas. I have done that. Yeah, okay, Sumant. I think, yeah, I don't see any request for the speakers. I see one. Sumant, can you accept a request from Asimra? Yeah, or Simran Singh. Yep, please.
So I guess there's no more requests and no more questions. So that taking granted, we can just end up this space, Hafiz. And thank you for all the listeners who are just being there for 2 hours. And I hope you just got your questions get answered. Like so you just find something value from this space. And yeah, we'll just create such kind of amazing spaces. We'll just try to create. Just try to create, if possible, every weekend. So yeah, just feel free to follow the community as well. So you can just check my profile. I'm just building like this C4ML community. So I just have it like we just have a Discord channel as well. So you can just join there and you can just ask your questions, or let's say if you have something to share, just feel free to join the community and share your learnings and learn with the community. So that's the best way that you can just learn when you're just learning something new. So yeah, Omo, you just raise your hand. Just go ahead.
Suma, thank you for this opportunity. I want to ask if you have a Discord group.
Yeah, you can just check that, Omo. Like you can just check my profile,
All right.
and there's
All
a
right.
link for the C4ML community. You can just go there, and the link is available there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And yeah, we can just end up this space.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you so much, Sumant, for having me as your co-host. And I learned many things from this space. And yeah, thanks again, guys.
Really, really a pleasure to have you as a co-host. It's been amazing. We just been pull off this 2 hour long space. So yeah, thank you for being as a co-host.
Yeah,
And yeah,
sure.
thank you for all the listeners and the
Yeah,
who
thanks,
are in this.
Thomas. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
good night and yeah, goodbye and yeah, have a good day.
yeah, yeah. Have a good day. Good night from here from India. So yeah, bye bye.